Welcome to day 23 of our February Scripture Challenge. As we jump into the reading, think about those daily reflection questions we've been using. Again, these are designed so that you can use them whenever you sit down to do some Bible study. These are: did anything in the reading surprise you or challenge you? How might this text inform your daily life? And what word or phrase stood out to you? Here is Matthew chapter 23. Then Jesus said to the crowds and to his disciples, "The scribes and the Pharisees sit on Moses' seat. Therefore, do what they teach you and follow it. But do not do as they do, for they do not practice what they teach. They tie up heavy burdens, hard to bear, and lay them on the shoulders of others, but they themselves are unwilling to lift a finger to move them. They do all their deeds to be seen by others, for they make their phylacteries broad and their fringes long. They love to have the place of honor at banquets and the best seat in the synagogues, and to be greeted with respect in the marketplaces, and to have people call them rabbi. But you are not to be called rabbi, for you have one teacher, and you are all students. And call no one your father on earth, for you have one Father, the one in heaven. Nor are you to be called instructors, for you have one instructor, the Messiah. The greatest among you will be your servant. All who exalt themselves will be humbled, and all who humble themselves will be exalted. But woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you lock people out of the kingdom of heaven. For you do not go in yourselves, and when others are going in, you stop them. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you cross sea and land to make a single convert, and you make the new convert twice as much a child of hell as yourselves. Woe to you, blind guides, who say, whoever swears by the sanctuary is bound by nothing, and whoever swears by the gold of the sanctuary is bound by oath. You blind fools, for which is greater, the gold or the sanctuary that has made the gold sacred? And you say, whoever swears by the altar is bound by nothing, but whoever swears by the gift that is on the altar is bound by the oath. How blind you are! For which is greater, the gift or the altar that makes the gift sacred? So whoever swears by the altar swears by it and by everything on it. And whoever swears by the sanctuary swears by it and by the one who dwells in it. And whoever swears by heaven swears by the throne of God and by the one who is seated upon it. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you tithe mint, dill, and cumin, and have neglected the weightier matters of the law, justice and mercy and faith. It is these you ought to have practiced without neglecting the others. You blind guides! You strain out a gnat, but swallow a camel. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you clean the outside of the cup and plate, but the inside are full of greed and self-indulgence. You blind Pharisee! First clean the inside of the cup, so that the outside may become clean. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you are like whitewashed tombs on which the outside look beautiful, but inside they are full of bones and of the dead and of all kinds of filth. So you also on the outside look righteous to others, but inside you are full of hypocrisy and lawlessness. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you build tombs of the prophets and decorate the graves of the righteous. And you say, if we had lived in the days of our ancestors, we would not have taken part with them in shedding the blood of the prophets. Thus you testify against yourselves that you are descendants of those who murdered the prophets. Fill up then the measure of your ancestors. You snakes, you brood of vipers, how can you escape being sentenced to hell? Therefore I send you prophets, sages, and scribes, some of whom you will kill and crucify, and some you will flog in your synagogues and pursue from town to town, so that upon you may come all the righteous blood shed on earth, from the blood of the righteous Abel to the blood of Zechariah, son of Barachiah, whom you murdered between the sanctuary and the altar. Truly I tell you, all this will come upon this generation. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the city that kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to it. How often have I desired to gather your children together as a hen gathers her brood under her wings, and you were not willing. See, your house is left to you desolate. For I tell you, you will not see me again until you say, Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. Friends, what stood out to you in this reading today? I think there are so many challenging things that need to be unpacked in this text. We see that conflict between Jesus's followers and those who have different teachings. And it can be hard to sort through some of that. But Jesus is calling out those religious leaders who are hypocritical in the way that they live versus the way that they teach. And I think we all have those issues of hypocrisy that we have to deal with. Thinking back to our scripture challenge handout, we know that when the Gospel of Matthew was written, there was this real challenge in the church of figuring out what it meant to be Jesus' disciple. And as this Jesus movement was forming and separating from others into this more distinctive faith, that caused a lot of conflict. And we see a lot of that coming through in these texts in particular. If I had to pick a word or phrase to stand out, it's hard for me to pick one today, but from that kind of litany that Jesus goes through and pointing out the ways that we are often hypocritical, he says that the weightier matters of the law are being neglected. And so that's in verse 23. And those weightier matters are justice and mercy and faith. So those three things stand out to me: justice, mercy, and faith. That's what the law and the teaching are about, and we should be mindful of those in our daily living. But I also love this image of Jesus as that hen that gathers her brood under her wing. I think that is such a beautiful and fascinating image to think about the way that Jesus draws us in, like that mother hen gathering her chicks. And I love that one. So I have to have two phrases that stand out to me today. I'd love to hear what stands out to you. Feel free to share in the comments below. We'll see you back tomorrow for day 24.